Marvel Cinematic Universe likes to take things from the comics and change them. You can't blame them. Most of their movies break almost $1 billion. This allows them to make partnerships with other studios to get their characters back. Captain America Civil War was a big one for this reason alone. You can't do a Marvel Civil War movie without Spider-Man.
Underoos!
He is a crucial character in the story, whether it is in the comic version or the cinematic version, although he didn't have the change in the movie that he did in the comic. But today, we're talking the Superhuman Registration Act and the Sokovia Accords. Let's jump in. The comic series ran from July 2006 to January 2007. The New Warriors, Night Thrasher, Namora, Speedball, and Microbe battle a group of villains, Cobalt Man, Speed Freak, Coldheart, and Nitro, in Stamford, Connecticut, while filming a reality television show. Nitro explodes, killing more than 600 people, including school children and all the New Warriors except Speedball. The rest of the superheroes appear in Stamford to search for survivors. Public opinion turns against superhumans. Even the inactive members of the New Warriors are branded as baby killers. Hindsight, desperate to distance himself from the team, releases their secret identities online and several are attacked. She-Hulk forces Hindsight to shut down the site and Hindsight is arrested by John Jameson. Angry civilians attack the Human Torch outside a club. Guided by Iron Man, Congress quickly passes the Superhuman Registration Act, requiring the registration of all persons with superhuman abilities with the U.S. government and the enlistment and training of those wishing to operate as superheroes. The law applies to those with naturally occurring superhuman abilities, those humans using exotic technology such as Iron Man, or anyone who wants to challenge the superhumans. Enactment of the federal law led to revisions of the state criminal codes in New York and California. Captain America refuses to join a S.H.I.E.L.D. strike force, hunting superhumans in violation of the act, and is attacked by S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Cape Killers, even though the act has not been passed yet. Afterwards, he becomes a fugitive and forms an underground resistance movement calling itself the Secret Avengers. This team includes Hercules, Falcon, Danny Rand, who is acting as Daredevil in Matt Murdock's place, Luke Cage, and the Young Avengers. Iron Man, Reed Richards, Hank Pym, actually a Skrull in disguise, and She-Hulk come down in favor of the act. Spider-Man unmasks at a press conference as a show of support for the act. Doctor Strange wants no part of the act and tells Iron Man and Mr. Fantastic that they are never to call him again. The government declares Doctor Strange exempt from the act. The government-backed heroes track down unregistered superhumans and subsequently detain or register them. Captain America's Secret Avengers and Iron Man's Avengers end up fighting in Yancey Street. The Thing, who was only visiting the old neighborhood, gets roped into crowd control. However, when a young member of the Yancey Street gang is killed in the violence that ensues, Grimm, disgusted with both sides, leave the country for France. The Secret Avengers, responding to a false emergency, are lured into an ambush by the pro-registration forces. As the battle turns against them, a new weapon is brought into play. Project Lightning, a cyborg clone of Thor created from a few strands of the Asgardian's hair and empowered by a technological copy of Mjolnir. Confronted by Bill Foster, Thor sends a bolt of lightning through the hero's chest, killing him. With both sides in shot, Cap orders a retreat. Sue Storm shelters the regrouping Secret Avengers under an energy shield, allowing their escape. Bill Foster's death shakes up both sides. Stature and Nighthawk surrender and register while the Human Torch and Invisible Woman oppose the act. In turn, Pym drafts a subgroup of the Thunderbolts to their cause. Spider-Man demands to see concentration camp-styled prison facilities 42 in the negative zone. He concludes that he has made a mistake by siding with Stark and attempts to defect from Iron Man's side, but is confronted by Iron Man and after a brief battle, escapes. Against Iron Man's will, he is hunted down and badly beaten by the Jester 3 and Jack-O-Lantern of the new Thunderbolts. The Punisher saves Spider-Man and carries him to a Secret Avengers safe house. After recovering from his injuries, Spider-Man joins Cap's forces and makes a public statement in which he pledges to fight the Registration Act. The Punisher seeks to join Captain America's forces, pointing out that Iron Man's decision to employ infamous mass murderers as enforcers of the act is what has motivated the vigilante to come out of hiding, although crime is at an all-time low as a result of the registered heroes. Captain America reluctantly accepts Punisher's offer to help. As the Punisher makes his way through the Baxter building to retrieve plans for the Negative Zone prison, Sue Richards travels to Atlantis to persuade Namor to join the Secret Avengers, although he refuses. The supervillains Goldbug and Plunderer arrive at the Secret Avengers base to join Captain America's team, but the Punisher immediately kills them, leading to Captain America to attack him and kick him out of the group. While meditating, Doctor Strange speaks with Uatu the Watcher, who asks Strange why he doesn't use immense power to end the conflict. Dr. Strange informs Uatu that the Sorcerer Supreme has no business in mankind's internal struggles, but promises to pray for an outcome that will benefit mankind and spill the least amount of blood. As the final battle begins, Cloak teleports the combatants to New York City, where Namor and an army of Atlanteans arrive to fight alongside the Secret Avengers and the Champions, the Thor clone, and Captain Marvel reinforce Stark's team. Mr. Fantastic saves Invisible Woman from a bullet launched by Taskmaster, and Hercules destroys the Thor clone. The Thing returns to protect the citizens from harm. As Captain America is about to deliver a final blow to Iron Man, policemen, EMTs, and firefighters try to restrain him. Realizing how much damage the fight has already inflicted upon the very people he wishes to protect, Captain America surrenders and orders his team to stand down. The cinematic adaptation came out in 2016. In 1991, the brainwashed super soldier James "Bucky" Barnes is dispatched from a Hydra base in Siberia to intercept an automobile carrying a case of super soldier serum. In the present day, approximately 1 year after Ultron's defeat in the nation of Sokovia at the hands of the Avengers, Steve Rogers, Natasha Romanoff, Sam Wilson, and Wanda Maximoff stop Brock Rumlow from stealing a biological weapon from a lab in Lagos. Rumlow blows himself up, attempting to kill Rogers. Maximoff telekinetically contains the explosion and throws it upward, damaging a nearby building and accidentally killing several Wakandan humanitarian workers. U.S. Secretary of State Thaddeus Ross informs the Avengers that the United Nations is preparing to pass Sokovia Accords, which will establish a UN panel to oversee and control them. The Avengers are divided. Tony Stark supports oversight because of his role in Ultron's creation and Sokovia's devastation, while Rogers has more faith in his own judgment than that of a government. Meanwhile, Helmut Zemo tracks down and kills Barnes' old Hydra handler, stealing a book containing the trigger words that activate Barnes' brainwashing. At a conference in Vienna where the Accords are to be ratified, a bomb kills King T'Chaka of Wakanda. Security footage indicates the bomber is Barnes, whom T'Chaka's son, T'Challa, vows to kill. Informed by Sharon Carter of Barnes' whereabouts and the authorities' intentions to kill him, Rogers decides to try and bring in Barnes, his childhood friend and war compadre himself. Rogers and Wilson track Barnes to Bucharest and attempt to protect him from T'Challa and the authorities, but all four, including T'Challa, are apprehended by the Bucharest police and James Rhodes. Impersonating a psychiatrist sent to interview Barnes, Zemo recites the words to make Barnes obey him. He questions Barnes and then sends him on a rampage to cover his own escape. Rogers stops Barnes and sneaks him away. When Barnes regains his senses, he explains that Zemo is the real Vienna bomber and wanted the location of the Siberian Hydra base where other brainwashed Winter Soldiers are kept in cryogenic stasis. Unwilling to wait for authorization to apprehend Zemo, Rogers and Wilson go rogue and recruit Maximoff, Clint Barton, and Scott Lang to their cause.
Suit up.
With Ross's permission, Stark assembles a team composed of Romanoff, T'Challa, Rhodes, Vision, and Peter Parker to capture the Renegades. Stark's team intercepts Rogers' group at Leipzig-Halle Airport, where they fight until Romanoff allows Rogers and Barnes to escape. The rest of Rogers' team is captured and detained at the Raft prison, while Rhodes is partially paralyzed after being inadvertently shot down by Vision, and Romanoff goes into exile. Stark discovers evidence that Barnes was framed by Zemo and convinces Wilson to give him Rogers' destination. Without informing Ross, Stark goes into Siberian Hydra facility and strikes a truce with Rogers and Barnes, unaware that they were secretly followed by T'Challa. They find that the other super soldiers have been killed by Zemo, who then shows them footage that reveals the automobile Barnes had intercepted in 1991 contains Stark's parents, whom Barnes subsequently killed. Enraged that Rogers kept this from him, Stark turns on them both, leading to an intense fight in which Stark destroys Barnes' robotic arm and Rogers disables Stark's armor. He departs with Barnes, leaving his shield behind. Satisfied that he has avenged his family's deaths in Sokovia from the Avengers' actions by successfully fracturing them, Zemo attempts suicide, but he is stopped by T'Challa and taken to the authorities. In the aftermath, Stark provides Rhodes with the exoskeletal leg braces that will allow him to walk again, while Rogers breaks his allies out of the raft. In a mid-credit scene, Barnes, granted asylum in Wakanda, chooses to return to a cryogenic sleep until a cure for his brainwashing is found. In another post-credit scene, Parker explores the features of the web shooters built for him by Stark. So the Accords and the Registration Act both completed the same goals, just go about them in different ways. It would have been nice to see Peter Parker switch sides in the movie like in the comic, but it wasn't necessary. If you like the content that we make, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on this video, and smack the bell to stay notified when we upload new videos. We'll see you in the next one.